Hey, oh, beautiful Leah. We are in for such a treat today, mamas. I am very honored to have you here with me today. I'm not going to introduce you. I want you to introduce yourself. But
Okay.
I just wanted to explain that Leah is not a mama yet. Okay, so I want to hold space for women who are in conception phase. I think it's a very important part of motherhood that we forget. And it took me 12 months to conceive Lael, and it was actually a really challenging time for me. Everyone was getting pregnant around me, and it was hard, right? So I want to honor women in this space who want to become mothers. You know, that's a real space to call in beautiful children. So thank you for coming onto this gorgeous spotlight series and being willing to share your story with us.
Thank you, Leonie, for having me. Honestly, it's such an honor to, I guess, be recognized that it's an important part of the journey. And I guess for me, I call the whole process a conscious conception because
Yeah,
that's really what it's become for me. As I've kind of stepped into being who I really am in this life and my journey of return to self, which is my spiritual journey, things have become far more of an awareness process and awareness ways of being for me.
yeah,
So I did the same thing when I got married in January 2016. It was a real conscious process for me, and I actually stepped into embodying taking on the role of wife, taking on
yeah,
the role of, having somebody for, well, the view is for this entire life, and really recognizing that other person as being the partner in the relationship as well. So it's been really important for me that I draw some consciousness around what the process is, because it can be really stressful and it can
oh
be
yeah,
really tiring. And, everybody with their well-meaning
yeah,
advice can actually make it quite challenging and quite difficult, and especially well, what's wrong with me? Why isn't this happening when it seems to be so easy for everybody else? Thank you very much for having me on, and I'm just really pleased that I can talk a little bit more about it. And
yeah,
even for the mamas who are trying to conceive for a second time, there's a lot of that happening,
yeah,
or second or third, or multiple children at the moment, because of the calling that they're having to have another child.
yeah.
And I think that's another important aspect to it.
Yeah, it's often that a child comes very quickly, and you're kind of like, whoa, that was just, I thought I only had sex like once, like
Yep.
really, and then so second time round can be quite challenging.
Yep.
There can be obviously miscarriages. There can be things that don't flow, and there's just this constant sense. I remember just feeling so excited and then disappointed.
Yeah.
And every time I got my period, now I'm grateful I get my period because I don't want more babies. But when I wanted to conceive, it was like I'd spent 35 years like trying not to get pregnant.
Yep.
And then I'm trying so hard to get pregnant. Sorry, I was 32 when I had Lael. But it for me was, I actually stopped thinking about it. And it was a long weekend, and we went out and we had a few drinks, and
Yep.
it actually
And
happened for us.
that's a very common
Yeah,
story, right? But it's the
yeah,
process of getting to that place and
yeah,
getting to that point, but still holding some kind of
yeah,
space for it to be a very conscious journey and a
yes,
conscious interaction between the two partners
yeah,
in whatever way that you do it. I mean, whether it's a natural method, or whether it's IVF, or whether it's in whatever way that it comes to you, whether it's adoption even.
yes,
But
absolutely.
it's all can be such a beautiful process, but also such a stressful time as well. And I guess
Yeah,
that's where it really, my two worlds collide, I suppose, because and here's the intro part about me, I guess, that I actually teach business through spirituality. And what I mean by that is I'm an intuitive business mentor. So specifically, my background is corporate strategy, and in creating new revenue streams for clients. And so it's really about leveraging your time and energy and to be able to be in your business. So less doing, more being, which then really links into the consciousness aspect of it, because we're not here to be human doings.
yeah,
We're here to be human beings and really be present in the experiences that we're having in life. And for me, business is definitely part of that aspect of it. It is the main area where my work is at the moment. But from that state, I guess I treat it a bit like a health journey as well, because it's all mixed in together for me. And that's where the conscious conception actually came from, because I have endometriosis and I've had depression and I've had these major life crisis triggers that have really helped me to understand health from both a stress point of view and what I'm doing every day in my life as my work. Really does make that impact, and therefore flows on to now when I have my business currently as a solo entrepreneur, but with a team of contractors that help me to deliver what I do. Stress is such a huge part of that. And then if you take that as stress for mamas, well, you're just adding the layers really as you add the different roles and the different aspects. So it kind of starts to get all a little bit mixed and intermingled as to how it all comes together. But I find that the business journey can really be that pushing boundaries on who you really are and what you're really here to do, and then exchanging that with the roles as a mum or a hopeful mum. It's kind of like you can't focus on everything all at once, because if you're doing that, the outcome just becomes this stressful scenario. And it's the same whether you're talking conception or whether you're still trying to conceive in a business, you're still trying to create something, right? There's still a gestation period. There's still a birthing process. And then there's actually raising the child aspect,
absolutely.
Both in business and in motherhood, right? So it's only just the beginning of the journey then.
I see so much symmetry between motherhood and business. And a lot of the mums I mentor have gone through birth and have had 1, 2, 3 children. And I guess they're wanting to create a business based around the flexibility and freedom, but also because they're at that stage where they maybe have lost themselves a little bit in motherhood because it's so overwhelming. And so it's a way for them to find joy. It's a way for them to reconnect back to themselves, because when they have their babies, it's like nothing else matters. You have this beautiful baby and the business is just like, well, I just want to be and present and breastfeed and be in this bubble. But then over time, your energy changes and you shift with what's important to you. And I see when you birth a baby, you birth creativity, you birth it all comes out of you. It's all chakra energy, and sacral chakra is creation and it's amazing what comes from your womb, right? It's life. And so many women that physically birth come up with these amazing ideas, and that's why they're so great in business. Birthing babies and birthing business is such a similar process in the way we call in the idea, we create that idea, we then put it out into the world, and then of course we have to nourish and nurture that to leverage it and create income around that. So Leah, in your line of work, which absolutely fascinates me, and I've always had the most amazing conversations with you, why do you do what you do? We could all go and work for someone else. Solopreneurship is definitely challenging. There are times of loneliness or frustration, I guess, of not having a team. But I know you do have a team. But your team are a little bit different to everyone else's team.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'd love you to share why you do what you do and how you've created this beautiful team around you that really guide you in making these amazing intuitive decisions. Yeah,
sure. So why I do what I do is that when I've really sat with the reason and the purpose of why I'm here, and I do that through meditation, I do that through retrospective reflection on my life and things that I've been called to do or places that I've been asked to be at. And when I say asked, it's like all of a sudden I just have this urge to be at these places or take that role or do that career or make this shift or move that place, as well as travel. Travel's been a huge part of that. And I guess when I sit in reflection in those times, it's really, for me, the core driver is about light the way. And that's lighting the way for other people in order to remember that they are already enlightened. They are already a light being in a physical body. So they already have the light within them. And it's just that we've forgotten in this process of, in birth, in this process of being in this embodied state, we forget that because that's part of the experience, the journey of remembering, and the journey of remembering that you actually already are whole and complete. and already have access to everything that you want. So really that's at the root level, at the foundational level, that's what's actually driving my why in a very fifth dimension light being aspect, I guess. As a third dimensional aspect, it's really like talking about right here, right now, real life reality stuff, physical world stuff. It's really about financial freedom for me, so that I can spend time with my friends and I can be there to support my family and my extended family and also provide for them as well. So a lot of women, they get into business in order to help their family, right? But the other aspect that then comes through is the fact that it's this journey of recreating an identity, or more like finding the real identity and being in touch with the real identity.
Yeah.
So that's really, why I do what I do. And ultimately for me, it's about, I see developing your business as being a form of self-care, being a form of healthcare, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can actually see the energetic blocks because they come up, because they get you stuck, because they make you be introspective about things that you are able to then grow through and create the real reason why you're actually here and have those experiences with people. So I guess the real value that I have managed to discover in that is working with my spiritual team. And my team of guides, honestly, they're like, there's been very few practices that I've actually studied with people when it comes to spirituality. So in my journey, I guess, in this awakening, remembering process, it really only started when I decided I had adrenal fatigue. I was sick again. My hormone levels were all over the shop. Sitting on the balcony in the afternoon one day and started bawling my eyes out. And then I realized that something's not right here. And that was my soul, the depression, the situational depression I was in, was my repressed soul getting me to wake up. And so in that moment, I started this remembering process, and I did a short course on intuition online. And by the end of that course, I realized that we've all got intuition. It's just we've forgotten. So, but that enabled me to get in touch with my team of guides. And really the process of what that's like for me is that they became, my guides are me. They're fractals of me, right? Yeah. We're all fractals of source, but we're kind of in different soul family groups in order to help us navigate the key things that we've signed up to experience in this life, the key emotions, right? It's all emotionally driven. So those team now have become the greatest guides, literally guiding me in my life and the choices in my life when I don't feel that I have enough information perhaps, or that I feel a little bit torn between being able to make a decision, because at the end of the day, it's all free will choice for me.
Yep.
But they can give me a little bit extra snippets of things that they can see from a greater eagle eye perspective that's linked directly back with source, right? Yes, I am. Yes, my higher self is. Yes, my team are, and my team are all me. So it's really important for me to be in communication with them and to be in communion with them and to understand from the greater perspective, because it's easy for me to get caught up in I just need to pay the bills.
Yes.
Human being, doing existence, right? So that team really have become, and I've recently gone through a process of, in my own recalibration of energy and things, I've gone through a hiring and firing process. And I love it. Basically they all left, all the agreements were concluded because I'm now aligned to my highest potential of possibility in this life, right? And that's where I hold my vibration to, and I recalibrate my vibration to every day and multiple times a day, because I want to be able to experience what I actually came here for. You know, not the, near enough's good enough. Because, that's great. And, you do what you do in this life, and the choices that you make are what create your reality, right? Between your beliefs and your choices, that creates your reality. Yeah. But so therefore my belief is that the highest possibility and outcome for me in this life is to actually live to my grandest vision. And that's a feeling that I have. It's not the actual vision that I have. So that team helped me to create that in practicality. So they're in formlessness, and I'm the form version that it comes through. So a lot of the time they're up there moving things around and moving all the chess pieces and doing all the bits that need to happen. And then they'll tap me on the shoulder and be like, okay, now you do this bit. Because the doing bit is the bit that I am here to do. Like that's the physicality bit, right? So that's pretty much how it works. I'll check in with them, and some days I'm like, okay, what do I need to do today? And they're like, yoga all day, meditation all day. Love those days. Or go to the beach, or, that sort of stuff. And you can still get some mind, but I need to do the washing, and I need to do making dinner, and I need to prep this stuff and that stuff and do this. And I've got a launch plan and a launch schedule. I've got to do some stuff on that. So do some of that, but do the things that the team are telling you, because that's the stuff that really is going to make the difference about being able to achieve that highest potentiality.
Yeah, see, I'm fascinated with intuition. I know we're all very intuitive, and we often just don't listen to that feeling or that voice or the visual signs or however our intuition comes into our space. And of course, we always go through those times when we know we should have done something and we didn't do it, and then we're really cross with ourselves, right? Because we just knew. And I think a lot of people don't know how to tune into their guides. Now, I'm asking for guidance every day at the moment. Like, I am like, send me a sign I'm on the right path. Like, we're fully in trust and surrender, as everybody knows, calling in income, calling in opportunity. And it is such a dance. It is just, I was in a funk yesterday, but by the end of the day, I'd fully shifted my vibe, and I called in some amazing opportunities with people. And you can do it. You can elevate. You can change your mindset. It's not actually that difficult to do. It's just being in the right headspace. I actually even cancelled an interview this morning with someone because I said, I'm not in the right space for you. It's not fair for me to interview you where I'm just in a bit of a funk, right? Got a headache, got my period. Like, don't want, I'm not going to honor you when I'm feeling this way. So I think we need boundaries, and we need to have, to understand how to harness our intuition in a way that serves us. So do you have any, because people may think calling on spiritual guides, what does that mean? How do I do that? Like, what do they look like? And for me, it's really just asking for guidance and being really open to receive and following energy all the time, following energy that takes you from A to B. You have a conversation, you take a phone call. Inspired action is also super important. So do you have any tips around knowing what to do that's inspired action and serves source and is purposeful, compared to your kind of ego or your humanness getting in the way to say, oh yeah, but actually you need to do all the grocery and the washing, or things that don't really lift you up, right? They're a distraction.
Yeah. So I guess working with guides, the key aspect of that, which I don't know why people don't teach it like this, but the only element that I find that matters is, does that guide love you unconditionally? Right? And that's a 3-part question, but it's the same question. Do you love me unconditionally? And listen to what the response is. Do you love me unconditionally? And listen to what the response is. Do you love me unconditionally? And listen to what the response is. If the answer is no, or if there's hesitation from the guide, don't work with them.
Yeah.
That's your free will choice. Because the thing is nothing necessarily bad's going to happen, but you're on their agenda then.
Yeah.
They don't love you unconditionally. They're not in your highest alignment and vibration. So they're going to just, add the odd thread through where it's like you're on someone else's bus and you're going on this tour of frigging countryside, and you're seeing the cows and the nice scenery and everything's great, but really you're not getting where you're supposed to be going.
Yeah.
Right? Which is fine. It's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But for me, in order for me to achieve the highest possibility in this life, that's the 3 questions that I ask. And so if they are saying yes to that, and you'll feel it. That's the thing, right? Because everybody has a different experience. And yes, some of it lines up with the Claire stuff, but I work more into intuitive types. So understanding whether you're physical, emotional, mental, psychological, or spiritual, they're senses, SENSORS, like Wi-Fi, right? The information, the energy is coming into the senses, and then it's being translated in for you to do things, taking inspired action to make some kind of thing from the information. That's it.
Yep.
And so a psychic is basically interpreting that information through their own lens. And so sometimes that information is accurate and sometimes it's less accurate, depending on where they are vibrationally, what's going on for you, a bunch of different stuff, right? And you can get some really accurate psychics, but I'm finding as we're moved more into the new paradigm, and when we speak the new paradigm, it's really about the position of the earth in a very practical physics sense, right? Where we are sitting in the universe and our orbit that goes around has shifted and changed, right? And the other practical end of it is that the both the bioenergy and the electromagnetic energy in the earth's core has changed as a magnitude, right? Yeah. So its vibration has literally shifted. And that's what I talk about when we talk about the new paradigm. So that has changes, issues, that has ramifications, consequences with the collective vibration, the collective consciousness, right? So that's working with guides.
And we all know that you get in a funk and it could be a few days, could be a week, could be a month, but then you can just wake up and go, God, I feel better.
Yeah. And the big thing is, honouring that, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the reclamation part of it. And it's not to say, oh, I'm just going to be happy now, or I'm going to change my mindset and just be this happy person. It's about acknowledging the emotions that you're actually feeling and understanding what they're really connected to, right? And if you can go down into what the root cause is, and for some people that's very much this life stuff. For other people, they get into past life stuff, they get into future stuff, future, and it is more presenting as in anxiety.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Past stuff is more presenting as depressive, funky, low kind of feelings, right? But the thing is if you can sit in what that emotion is, that emotion just needs completion. It's information coming in for you to take some kind of inspired action with, right? And I would say, the biggest part of that for me is awareness.
Yeah.
If you can be in awareness about it and notice that it's there, 9 times out of 10, it'll lift.
Yeah.
Pretty much, within half an hour or whatever. And if you're working with a guide, you can say, beings of light who love me unconditionally, please be with me and help me to understand what this is about so I can liberate it. Yeah. Like it's just coming up for completion, right? And I guess, Leonie, you have some tips then, because awareness is the first piece for me, but mindfulness is the second, right? And so what would you say in terms of mindfulness is the key to being able to shift through that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. I mean, presence has real power. So when we do feel these emotions, sometimes they're so heavy and you just really feel like you can't get through whatever it is. Especially if there's a situation in your life that's giving you a lot of toxicity. It's a very hard process to move through. And what helped me through my divorce, which was my absolutely darkest of times, was the power of presence, to know that in this moment right now, I have everything I need. I have my beautiful son. I have my health. I live in a beautiful part of the world. Like gratitude, forgiveness, and compassion really helped me be in that moment and stay really present, because I kept going from, why did it happen? Why did it happen? I was a great wife. Why did it happen? I'm stuck in the past. I'm the victim. Yeah. And then I'd go, cool, the future. What's going to happen? How am I going to survive? Oh, I'm never going to love anyone again. Just this constant, and it's exhausting. It's just exhausting to have this kind of, these voices all the time. And so for me, it was like just finding stillness, just being being in the present. It's okay to feel this. It's okay to acknowledge that. There's nothing wrong with that. For me, writing was huge. Yoga, physically getting rid of it. So mindfulness for me was just being as present as I could. And it's like the chaos is going to happen. Kids are going to throw tantrums. Kids are going to get sick. People are going to cancel appointments. It's just things don't flow sometimes. And there's nothing you can really do about that apart from acknowledge it. And also I'm all about get help, get advice, go see a counselor. If you need that, go call a friend, call on the support of not just, if you are into having support with guides. I've always felt my grandfather is an ancestral guide very strongly. I will just call in. They're not even specifically, I guess for me, it's just universal energy and source. which are my guides. So
Yep.
it's not, I don't have like characters for them or anything.
Yep.
I do for
and
my
you don't
ego,
need
but
to. You don't
no,
need
you don't
to,
need
right?
to.
You just need to be able to feel that the energy is there,
Yes.
and it's with you. You have the support.
Yeah, it's so yeah, whether they're real or virtual. I mean, my son writes to the fairies. That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
They're not real, but it's for him. It's a way for him to express his feelings and to know that, you know, he's supported in some way, right? He struggled to make friends when we were at school, so he had fairies that were not real, but that's beautiful. He has friends.
Yep.
Just imaginary. Like kids don't really care whether they're real or not when they're little, and so I think. Yeah, going with that energy is really important. And, you know, I've cried a lot in the last few days. There's been some dense energy happening. I know in my magnetic mama group, everyone's having mama meltdowns and they're sharing and we're all in this together.
Yep.
And so I find I don't cry often, but when I do, of course, I feel physically released.
Yep.
And, you know, when I get my period, I actually feel released because that the blood, the energy is flowing, right?
Yep.
And this is a kind of gross, but I even had a pimple on the back of my neck that was been building up, right? And it was quite gross. And that came out yesterday with the love of my partner going, ew. But I felt really good because it was a blockage in my body. It was physically blocking me. So all these little things are happening. And I guess we need to be mindful of that we need to release it somehow.
Yep. And I think even to that end, right, orgasms are a great example of life force energy, right? Pure life force energy.
Yes.
And even if it's not something, if you don't feel like having sex with your partner or your husband or whatever, self-pleasure. I mean, it's the fact that the energy needs to move because it's stagnant, right? And particularly the energy that's related with, even if you have never had an orgasm before, right? You can feel something shifting in the process.
Yeah.
So I would say it's a great place to start in terms of, it's a mindfulness practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, walking in nature, being and doing only one thing at once, making the kids sandwiches, like driving the kids to school, singing a song with the kids in the car.
Yeah.
One thing at once, right? Not 10,000 things, trying to multitask and do all this stuff, because it's really, that's the power of the presence. And then I guess the way I work is that it starts from awareness with the skill of observation. It's then in mindfulness with the skill of being and doing only one thing at once. It's then in inspired action, where, right, with the inspiration space where you actually harness and access your intuition. And then the last area is about restoration. And that restoration is really about rest, and it's about coming to a space where you can just stop for a moment. And I know that that's one of the hardest challenges in modern day life, whether you're mum, whether you're mum to be, whether you're trying to be mum, whether you're in corporate, whether you've got a job in a shop, or, you know, whatever that you're doing, that's the hardest place for us all to be. And I guess for me, the greatest way for me to help practice that is they each correspond to different brainwave states. Right. So the monkey mind that people go on about, the chatter, the hearing the self-criticism and all that stuff, that can live in the first area. Right. So in order to help harness and drop away that monkey mind chatter, it's practicing awareness, and it's being in observation of what's going on. You don't even have to do anything. You just have to notice what's coming up.
Acknowledge.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's
Simply.
really comical. Like I often will recommend just have like a funny name for your ego, those thoughts, and call it Reggie or something.
Yep.
And it's almost kind of comical. It's like, oh, here it is again, you know, mine's just like a record player. It's just the same thoughts over and over again from childhood.
Yep.
And it's just like, I think 70% of our thoughts are negative. 80% of them are just the same as the ones you had yesterday and the day before. And, you know, when you start to tune into what you're actually thinking about, it's just the same patterns, the same beliefs. And so mindfulness is wonderful because it really allows you to shift that. And you can say, I'm not choosing to go down that road. I'm trying to teach my son this at the moment. You know, he's so dominated by his thoughts and his feelings. And I'm like, you can choose to feel differently. You can choose to acknowledge it and then let it go, and then have another thought that makes you feel happy. You know, Roald Dahl has that beautiful quote that when you think happy thoughts, you know, they shine out of your face like sunbeams. And of course, you look so beautiful. And there are people who are just happy, right? And it's a choice that we make. And yes, honor those feelings of sadness and grief, and the darkness is where you find the light. I really believe that. But when we become a victim to that state of mind, you're never going to get to where you want to get to because you're stuck in the hamster wheel of...
You're stuck in a trauma,
yeah,
right?
the negative cycle is, you know,
Yep.
your ego wants to keep you there, wants to keep you in
Yep.
that negative energy, doesn't want you to kind of go out your comfort zone, doesn't want you to go out there and shine and evolve. You know,
Yep.
ego wants to keep you small.
Yep.
So dreaming big, taking risks, following your heart to its fullest potential is scary.
Yep. Yep. And
Especially
it's right there. Every time you bump
fear.
up to the end
Yeah.
of your comfort zone, that's fear. That's
Yeah.
what's at the edge of your comfort zone,
Yeah.
right? You've got a fear ring around you.
Yeah.
So by the pure fact that you know that that's there, you can have awareness when you're approaching that. And if you feel the fear come up, then you can go, oh, yeah, okay, I know where I am now. I'm at the end of my comfort zone, right? And you can just be like, all right, well, what is the feelings then that are related to that fear? Oh, well, it's grief. It's sadness. It's feeling like I'm abandoning my children if I'm doing work in my business, right? Acknowledge the feelings and see where the root cause is. Is this something related to something else? Is this specifically only in isolation to how I feel about my business? Or is this actually, hang on, let me just sit in that for a moment. If I close my eyes, does anything flash through my mind? Oh, wait, hang on. It's when I was a child and I was in year 1 and this girl said something to me, and because that's the trauma incident, right?
Yeah.
And when we can get back to the original root cause of the trauma, it liberates. Those feelings then disappear because we've acknowledged it and because we've completed it. And that's the power of something that you can do for yourself. And that's where the true value, I think, in where the convergence of whether you're doing business or whether you're in this process of motherhood, or no matter what you're experiencing it, that's the spiritual practice for me, to feel the feelings and to live in the exact presence of the experience. And some days that's really, really difficult.
It's really hard. I mean,
stuff goes on, right?
Yeah, it's just, even this morning, it's like my little boy just is such a teacher for me. But I said to him, I've got a headache. I'm not feeling well. Can you please, get your shoes on? It's just every morning in our house, meltdowns about this and that and doing simple things. And he just would not listen to me. And I was almost like, I just wanted to smack him in the face, and it's like, this is my father fully coming out, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, babe, mummy's really tired. Please put your shoes on. And I said to him, it makes me want to hit you. So can you? And he was like, oh, you're really scaring me. I'm like, but I'm not going to, darling, because I'm in control. But you not listening makes me so angry, right? Because we have this every morning.
Yep.
It's like, it's just so simple, babe. I've done everything for you. Just get your shoes on.
Yeah. And I think that expression though, Leonie, for you to be in that space with him and still be, able to not take that action.
Yeah. It's like,
but be in this space with him. And that's the same whether it's your husband,
your
mother,
totally.
your mother-in-law. Don't stay silent, because that turns that stuff inward. But if you can find a constructive way to say it, to let the other person understand what it is that you're actually feeling, that's completion of the cycle of that emotion, that trauma, right? And it's completion. So you can all move on. And if people start to think that you're a little bit crazy because you're telling them about what you're feeling all the time, who cares? It gives them permission to do the same, right?
Absolutely. And actually, he's very good at telling me about his feelings. He's very honest, and I really love that. It's he will always communicate that to me. I know that.
Yeah.
And we do talk about it, but we also repair afterwards.
Yeah.
Something that's really important. If you do say something that wasn't quite perfect, of course you can feel terrible guilty about it all day.
Yeah.
Or we always hug it out and we just say, we love each other. We just want to live in a, happy environment. And sometimes, I had a mosquito in the room last night. So there's this amazing quote that says, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito.
Yeah.
Right? It just kept waking us up. And of course we had to get up and get rid of it. And it was just like our daughter hadn't slept for 6 nights and she slept really well last night. And we had a mosquito. I was like, right? And then there was beeping at like 6 a.m. and it woke up the kids and I don't know what was happening. And you're just going, oh my gosh, I just so needed a good night's sleep. And this is life.
Yep.
Right? But we're all having a good laugh about it. We're all rolling around in the bed this morning and it's just gonna constant chaos that we live in.
And that's the spiritual practice though, right?
Absolutely.
Every single moment of how you, and I'm really working with the word responsibility at the moment,
Yeah.
and courtesy of some friends of mine who've really brought a new definition to my attention. And it's about my ability to respond rather than feeling it as a burden of responsibility and this pressure in order to get things right or meet expectations or whatever. And if you're wearing the mama role, hell yes, you feel that responsibility, right?
Yeah.
If you're wearing the wife role, the partner, the whatever, you're feeling the responsibility. So if you can start feeling it in your ability to respond instead, it's a whole different way of approaching something. And then you know that you have a choice in how you respond to things rather than the lived, the learned, or inherited beliefs and behaviors that are running the ego mind. That's what's running the show in there, right?
Yeah, because when I was growing up, I would just get smacked.
Yep.
There wasn't even your 1, 2, 3 magic.
Yeah.
That didn't exist. It was just like, get them on, right?
You'd run.
I'm going to count, and I'm going to give you brain breaks, and I'm going to be really compassionate before I lose it. You know, and it just parenting is obviously very different these days. You know, and I want to be really compassionate, but I know that doesn't necessarily serve. Because kids do need to respect you. It is such a journey, and I'm so grateful that you could come and share your wisdom with mothers. I know that I find business relatively easy compared to motherhood. It's so emotional. They are part of you. You know, they are part of your soul. And I say that to my son. You know, when you're sad, mummy's sad.
Yeah.
You know, like that's we're connected. And so,
and to a certain extent, as a child, from a spirituality perspective, till about the age of 6, there's like a milestone shift that happens in the agreement and in the relationship, and then another one when they're about 12, right? And I think it's really interesting in being able to watch what happens in those 2 transition periods, because there's stuff that changes, and it's more about being able to make sure that you give the child a sense of self-responsibility and give the child a sense of self-assurance, right? And then be able to make the readjustments in the relationship where that child can feel the ability then for them to be able to test, you know, and start to awaken and remember what it was that they've come here for too, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're the biggest teachers. And I want to share these 2 cards because these came out for us. Oh, sorry, they're a bit, I'm trying to work backwards here. There we go, that's better. Ones are laying foundations. And the other one is explore and expand, right? And I think the Nautilus shell is a really nice representation of that, because it gives you the infinitality of what the possibilities are. And I think that kind of sums up what we speak about when we're speaking both about business and motherhood, and both about the journeys of becoming both and being both and being in both. And I think particularly that's what it's about, having foundations that you can keep coming back to make sure that you're walking in the direction that you want to be going in, and then allowing it to evolve and expand as it needs to. And as, you know, the energy not only is pulling you, but the energy is leading you. And that's how I experience it, right? And so it's about allowing that energy to build you up and to fill you up and to give you the strength and the confidence and the opportunities that otherwise you wouldn't be able to conceive for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an incredible journey. And thank you, beautiful Leah, for sharing your just mind-blowing wisdom. It's always an honor to chat with you. And how can anyone listening or watching the video find out more about you?
Probably my Facebook site is one of the best places to catch me, which is Leah Kearns Mentor. Otherwise, my website, which is leahkearns.com. And I have the beautiful children's group coming up and the project coming up for that. So, absolutely. There's so much more to be done with these new children and the energy that they're bringing through. So, I'd love to connect with anybody who's interested in that too.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Very honored to have you. And I know, Mum, I've had the most fascinating conversations over the last few weeks. So thank you for being part of the show. And I can't wait to connect with you again. Namaste.
Thanks for having me, Leonie.